Good morning, everybody. I know we have had a very busy week, and the final week of legislative session will be next week when it wraps up. I'd like to start off today by highlighting some of the excellent bills that have passed and are moving forward. On Monday, my telehealth bill passed through the House. That means it will be on its way to my desk for signature. This bill is going to allow us to increase access to health care by using telemedicine, which pairs very well with the broadband legislation and build out that we're pursuing here in the state of South Dakota. On Tuesday, my bill that will give transparency to health care costs passed through the Senate. Also, the bill that would enhance law enforcement training is passing through the House and is on the way to my desk. The Dakota Events Complex, the DEX building in Huron, South Dakota, has passed through the House as well and is on its way to my desk for signature. And then on Wednesday, my bill to ban abortions on the basis of a Down syndrome diagnosis did pass through the Senate, meaning that it is going to be signed into law. And my broadband proposal came out of the Senate. What's interesting about the Down syndrome bill and the broadband legislation is that both of those passed unanimously, which is good news, seeing that kind of agreement on important issues. And the Freedom Scholarship is also on its way to be signed into law. I'm looking forward to signing that and increasing educational opportunities for students that may not have the financial means to do that and pursue that higher education and degree. I also signed into legislation to protect the right to the privacy of donors as far as charitable organizations yesterday. So that has been signed and will continue to be enacted into statute. We're getting an awful lot done here for the people in the state of South Dakota. We're moving along well on the timeline for getting that work completed. We're improving access and affordability to health care. We're defending life, liberty, and property rights, and we're also investing in the future of our state. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that you may have.
Do you agree with this statement regarding the impeachment of Jason Crosby, that South Dakota's top law enforcement official isn't likely to be impeached by the House?
You know, I think this has been a tragic situation, Bob, not just for the victim's family, which obviously is where my heart is, but also for our entire state. The quickest way for this to come to resolution is for the Attorney General to resign.
Governor Austin Goss, Dakota News Now. With that court order that came down last Thursday, as a matter of fact, that effectively ended the release of information, did your administration or you give any thought to ever challenging that court ruling?
No.
So Ravnsburg's lawyer said in his motion that Prosecutor Emily Sobel emailed you last Tuesday to ask you not to release any evidence in the Ravnsburg case in order to protect her criminal case. He said the email included legal arguments as to why you shouldn't do this. Did you receive this email, and why did you decide to ignore her request, if so?
My office did receive that email, and we disagreed with her.
Given that order, do you think that a delay in impeachment or considering impeachment was necessary in the legislature this week?
You know, I think it's a completely different process. I won't weigh in on what the legislators decided to do or how they'll proceed with impeachment. What I will say is that I still continue to believe the Attorney General should resign.
Governor Noem, this is Chris Von Drotrick from Foreign News Service. Do you think that the legislature has erred in thinking that the gag order applies to them and not proceeding with this impeachment process?
I won't weigh in on that. I think that the best thing that could happen is that the Attorney General would resign as soon as possible.
Governor, do you have a deal somewhere in mind?
No, I don't. I just think that this is a situation where, from what you have seen in announcements, the law enforcement agencies, the sheriff, police chiefs, they've lost faith and trust in the Attorney General, and that impedes his ability to do his job.
Governor Joe Sneevy, Argus leader. Folks I've talked to don't have confidence that there's political appetite for both chambers, two-thirds of the members of both chambers, to call a special session to take up impeachment. Would you call a special session following the resolution of this criminal case?
No. For impeachment? No, I would not call that session. I don't believe that's my role.
Governor, under the Constitution, where it says that the length of the legislative session, it says 40 days, and then, quote, excluding impeachment.
Right.
Do you think the legislature can come back?
I do believe they can come back, yes.
And they don't need a special session?
I believe they don't need a special session for impeachment.
Why did you only start reviewing and releasing extra evidence last Monday and not in the months before? And why did you release the videos alone, not the entire investigation? so that people can understand the evidence in context. Was the timing and release of the evidence to pressure the Attorney General to resign? Or what was the reason?
If you remember, Abby, we released the 911 call months ago, the toxicology reports. We released other information outside of those videos as well. The reason that I did not review all the evidence in that case until charges were filed was because the investigation was operating separate from me. It was being done by BCI out of North Dakota. We had a third-party consultant that was working on it as well, and the Highway Patrol Office was working on it. When that was a closed investigative case and charges were brought forward was the time to be more transparent with the public in the state of South Dakota.
Chris Von Dra- oh, go ahead.
Sure, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to ask, is there any regret or second guessing about releasing the videos in your office?
No.
Governor Noem, earlier.
I'll do Stephen, and then I'll come to you.
Yes, ma'am.
So last week, you as the governor, the top official in the state, calling on the Attorney General to resign, that is maximum pressure. Then we saw your Secretary of Public Safety call on him to resign, as well as law enforcement groups. Is there anything else that you can do to pressure the Attorney General to resign, as you've called on him to do?
Not at this time. Austin?
Yes, ma'am. Earlier this week, former Attorney General Marty Jackley announced his candidacy for Attorney General in 2022. Seeing that it might be Ravnsborg versus Jackley in that scenario, would you support Jackley's candidacy for Attorney General?
I'm not going to weigh in on that race.
Okay.
Thank you, though. Joe?
You said you don't believe a special session is necessary to take up impeachment. I can't get a straight answer out of the Legislative Research Council. The director is just not accessible. Maybe your legal counsel could walk us through how that would actually work. Would that just be a continuation of this session then? Should
I think we could do that, or we could get an independent analysis from a lawyer or attorney that could help give you clear definition too, if you'd like that. But we'll help facilitate that. Okay. Are there any questions on the phone? All right, we'll go to Eric.
Okay, good to see you. Getting back to Ravnsborg, and not impeachment, but traffic laws in the state. He got charged with 3 misdemeanors because there wasn't adequate felony charge for what the state's attorney and the deputy state's attorney thought there should be. Would you call for revisiting traffic laws in the state and adding in a negligent homicide?
I'm sure there will be some discussion on that in the future. Yep.
South Dakota broadcaster. Just shifting gear a little bit. It was a year ago this week we began talking about COVID on a regular basis. Since that time, as I understand it this morning, 25% of South Dakotans now have their first round of vaccines. As many as 30% are in queue right now, and we're ramping up. Could you just encapsulate this past year, where we're at now, look back on a year?
Well, it's tough to look back on the last year. It was incredibly challenging and tragic for so many people across the state of South Dakota. And we were in an unprecedented situation, dealing with a pandemic and a virus that we did not fully know or understand what its effects would be. I would say that I'm very proud of the partnerships that we have in South Dakota, that we have been in the top 3 states in the nation leading in vaccinations. The partnership we have with our healthcare systems, with our Department of Health, with volunteers. Thousands of volunteers have stepped up to help facilitate clinics getting shots in arms. So what we're doing today to protect the public is incredible. The partnership we had throughout the last year of having the experts in the room understanding the science and then getting information out to people to help them make better decisions for their family, I think is one of the reasons why South Dakotans today understand and are better prepared for the future.
I'm going to shift gears on this one on a different
Sure.
topic. Yesterday, state appropriators voted down a bill, the Enhanced Ellsworth Air Force Base bill appropriation. The B-21 Raiders all tied in on that one. We heard from Representative Johnson that the bill may not be dead, but just your first reaction on hearing that project funding supporting Ellsworth was cut. I know it's been a major project of yours and past governors.
Are you talking about the specific wellness center funding, or are you talking about the infrastructure funding they requested? The infrastructure funding? Well, I know the budget process is still being debated, and we'll go back and forth. There has been no agreement as to what will be included in the final budget, and I expect that to still be a part of the discussion. I think one thing, Patrick, I do want to add, Ellsworth is incredibly important to this state. It is something that we are proud of, that those airmen that serve there, move to our community, and defend this country are very special. And what I've always loved about South Dakota is we make them a part of our family. So taking care of them, making sure they have the resources that they need and their quality of life is incredibly important. So I hope the legislature will continue to focus on that when they have their budget discussions. Joe?
Yesterday in Senate Health and Human Services on House Bill 1100, which would delay implementation of medical marijuana, an amendment was approved and sent to the Senate floor to add patient protections, is how it's characterized, that would allow for affirmative defense to be made for somebody who otherwise would qualify for medical marijuana. Do you support that? Will you, should that end up on your desk, would you veto that or would you sign it?
We're looking at that bill and seeing some of the amendments that were added, and we'll continue to do that. I think that what happened last fall with what was placed on the ballot for 2 different marijuana measures was unprecedented. There's no other state that had recreational and medical marijuana measures on its ballot at the exact same time. Implementing medical marijuana as quickly as that ballot measure forced South Dakota to do was also unprecedented. So we're just trying to take responsible action, make sure we set up the program correctly, that we're doing it the right way so that we don't run into unintended consequences throughout the process. Go ahead, Bob.
I need to ask this. $600,000 that your family members.
My family members, brothers.
Yeah. Do you have any statement on that?
Well, just that I have no ties to them or their business interests or to those companies. The legislature helped set up the parameters of the program. A third-party vendor actually ran the program and determined eligibility of those funds going to the businesses that received funds through the small business grants. Lee.
As you mentioned earlier, your Down syndrome abortion ban has sailed through the legislature. It looks like the 8th Circuit has enjoined a similar law in Arkansas. Is the hope to join that case and get it before the Supreme Court?
That determination hasn't been made.
Governor, I wanted to ask you about the bill dealing with open fields and private property. That was smoked out in the Senate yesterday, but 17 out of 18 senators voted for that. So it would need at least one more to support it to get on the calendar. What is your message to senators today as they weigh that?
Well, my message to them, I laid out pretty clearly in a letter earlier this week. Have you had the chance to see that? Yeah, it's about my experience being someone who loves the outdoors, being a sportsman and loving our wildlife, but also being a landowner and specifically providing resources and food and habitat for them over the years in my business, but then also recognizing that consistency is important. Our policy today is that our conservation officers don't go onto private land unless they have permission or reasonable suspicion or a warrant. I would like to see that in statute to be consistent. I think we have dramatically improved relationships with landowners in game fish and parks over the years, and it's important that we codify that to make sure it continues.
I have a question on the phone.
Sure, go ahead.
Hi, this is Angela Kennecke from Kelbo TV.
Yeah. Go ahead, Angela.
After all of the national attention that you received at CPAC this weekend and on Face the Nation, and you continue to fundraise, you consistently said you're not seeking national office. Is that still the case? And if it is, what is your motivation behind the appearances and the fundraising?
Well, I absolutely intend to run for re-election to be governor of South Dakota. I'm hoping the people here will support me in that. I've been incredibly humbled to be in this role. My reason for attending and speaking at events like that is to tell the story of South Dakota. When I ran for governor, I told everyone here that I believed South Dakota could be an example to the nation, that we have incredible people, we're a small state, we can do things here to help families be successful, build strong families, and that what we do could really be an example for other states to follow. So that is the message that I carry, and it has helped us recruit businesses to our state. It has helped us recruit families to our state, more kids in our school buildings, more state sales tax coming in to help fund special services, and it is something that I'll continue to do. I'm very proud of South Dakota, and I'm thankful that the people here have trusted me and worked with me to get through this last challenging year and go after opportunities in the future. Thank you.